Oh, dear friends in the Holy Dharma, it is with great joy and profound reverence that I stand before you today to extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to our distinguished guest, Tulku Rinpoche, who is gracing us with his presence for the first time here in Norway. We are truly honored to have him here to share his wisdom, insights, and teachings on the profound topics of the myth of karma and the four seals of Buddhism. Before we delve into the details of the upcoming Dharma talks, let me introduce Tulku Rinpoche. He is not just a revered spiritual guide, but also the resident Lama of Arya Tara's net, an online community and Center for Buddhist Studies and Practice in Windeck, Germany. Rinpoche's journey in this lifetime is nothing short of remarkable. At the tender age of 17, he was recognized by His Holiness Satya Tizin as the reincarnation of 5th Raktul Rinpoche, a lineage that stretches back to the 17th century with the first Raktul Rinpoche, a master of the Do Teng monastery in East Tibet. Following his recognition, Rinpoche embarked on an 11-year-long journey of intense training in Buddhist philosophy, practice, and debate at the Dzongtsar Khyentse Chogyalodro Institute in India. His dedication and commitment led him to graduate with the title of an Acharya, a Lopen in Tibetan terminology, signifying his mastery of these profound teachings. Since then, Rinpoche has been a beacon of wisdom and guidance, teaching and leading retreats in various parts of the world, including India, Nepal, Europe, and South America. He has been fortunate to receive teachings and transmissions and initiations from some of the greatest masters of our time, enriching his understanding and enabling him to transmit the essence of these teachings to all of us. Notably, Tulku Rinpoche has also served as a translator for 84,000, a project dedicated to translating the vast Tibetan Buddhist canon into modern languages, thus contributing significantly to the preservation and propagation of these timeless teachings. Today, Rinpoche resides with his family in Germany, where he continues to teach regularly, offering guidance to many practitioners on their spiritual journeys. As we gather here tonight to listen to Rinpoche's teachings on the myth of karma and look forward to the insightful Dharma talk during this weekend on the four seals of Buddhism, let us remember that it is a rare and precious opportunity to be in the presence of a teacher of Rinpoche's caliber. The topics he will touch upon in the coming days are of immense importance in the Buddhist tradition and offer profound insights into the nature of existence and the path to liberation. Tonight, we will explore the myth of karma. Karma, a fundamental concept in Buddhism, encompasses the idea that our actions have consequences, both in this life and beyond. Rinpoche will illuminate this complex and often misunderstood concept, shedding light on how it shapes our lives and our understanding of the world around us. Throughout the weekend, we will continue our journey with Rinpoche as he guides us through the four seals of Buddhism. These seals encapsulate the core tenets of Buddhism, Buddhist philosophy, and provide a framework for understanding the nature of reality, suffering, and the path to enlightenment. Before I conclude, let me extend our heartfelt gratitude to all the volunteers who have worked tirelessly to make this event possible. Their dedication and hard work have brought us together today. With that, I invite you all to open your hearts and minds as we embarked on a journey of spiritual growth and enlightenment under the guidance of Tulku Rinpoche. Thank you, Rinpoche, for blessing us with your presence and wisdom. We eagerly look forward to the enlightenment that your teachings will surely bring. So without further ado, let us warmly welcome Tulku Rinpoche to Norway and embrace the teachings he has to share. May this weekend be a transformative journey towards deeper understanding and inner peace. Thank you. And please join me in giving a warm Norwegian welcome to Tulku Rinpoche. Thank you.
Does this work? Thank you. Kanshi Sergio Ranchero Mandara Dala Jeno Jinda Dengenru Jimambasa Sawan Belu Nam Kainda Kanjera Nepal Jero Jerabiga Rigbazim Bakaimba. Tetatam Jatraba Tambe Gutur to be Zung engine Drishi Lada Leme MG Wambodan Jajin Las Chudi Chola Chawachevanam Sangi Sora of the teaching David Jorba Teta Shiji Tambe Chun engine Drishi Kangta Choju Tongi Jigdena Deji Lomar Jurba Kansu the Tengder Tembe Chuji Charbeb Jinyamberba Tamchi Drishi Namo like the Ludan Jinga Drum da me Jenam. Draw a Gunji Danam Chisamber Tamje Gedo Dagi Chut and Paldin Savel, Lamarumboche, Dagajur, Pemedation. Garden Chamber Gunne Jason the Guzon to Jim Observus Tabi Tuji Sheche Risutum Shenjim to the Jipunchum. Sergilumbo Tabujibigo Shaji Jabe Shabla Chatsal, Chaton, Kolujibe Javon Jinonga was on Bozangadonga to the letter them. Sumba Jerezela Chazolo, Seja Java Tamji, Shipumbo Chik de Basishi Kunji Paljur, Jambe on La Chazolo, Kanshi, Tony Shinji, Ponala so Dawan, Tarne, Chojere Jerjeba, Dojech and La Chazal, Corva Ledro, Tarema, Dodare, Jijudul, Dorena, Dramayum La Chazal, Sheja Tamji Bejam, Badogunja, Ledlube to Jejin Summit, Elizabeth, Jamgela Measure, Gocha. So the Sulama Kinsewa, Jason Shilama Kinsewa, Shinji Lobshilama Kinsewa, Tangman Gawama Kinsewa, Sulder Sigdalama Kinsewa, Tuji Shilama Kinsewa, Cheno Lama Chinse de Cheno, Chinlap Terjan Daniel Lama Jambal de Cheno, Chugutala, Ningi Kurlor, Namsam Kangi Chadang so. Nisem Tachi Tambe Meba Tegun Gumbe Suzuchi, Jasetu, Namtra Subjing Jachetala, Nyerzozu, Yabjing Lajandala Ravamanchi, Kanyanta, Ninsen, Kundu Jamyan Kube Samjin Chiji Tuji, Chungse Menjasungi Rangin Bilebe Se, Tadong, Kunim Major Pado Caption, Solwar Majoroji, Hong Uji Ujin of Jang Zampema Gazaradumbola, Yansen, Chogging Udumni, Pemajung Shesu. Kordo Kandru Mangbergo, Chiji Jizu Tadubji Shinji, Lobjira Sheksu So, Guru Pemasidi, Kusum Lama, Soji Doji. Tala Choto Monjim Udrup Saldo, Ujir, Puchilazo, and the Gajambarji Major Tunchin, Samba Drup and the Chodon to Mongodrup Saldos. Lasso, Tashi Dele. Quite intimidating after Lamala's grand introduction. Also, the topic is quite tricky to talk about karma. Is there anyone here listening to a Buddhist talk for the first time? I apologize. I hope you get something to take with you. of all the teachings that Buddha Shakyamuni have given, teaching of dependent origination, cause and effect, karma, these are the most important teachings of all. And also quite subtle, to be honest. And usually we think that emptiness, Prajnaparamita, like Heart Sutra, these are the essence, and they are. But that which makes these kind of teachings very essential is the fundamental teachings, the fundamental reality, relative realities, such as this, talk about karma. So please bear with me as I stumble through all kinds of different words, ideas. Before we begin, I would like to request you to try and sit straight and bring to your mind Shakyamuni Buddha. Actually, exactly like this. Well, not so yellow, but, Indian man, an Indian man. This runaway prince who, for the greater good, to find the final solution to all of our problems, basically, left behind all comfort, all relations, basically, to realize the awakening. And he did, some thousands of years ago, under the Bodhi tree. So the meditation here, and it depends on us whether it is samatha or vipassana or both. Now the contemplation is very simple. To think of yourself in front of the Bodhi tree, and in front of you, under the Bodhi tree, is Shakyamuni Buddha, this completely awakened being. His right hand touching the ground, and left hand in meditation, and his gaze fixed on you. What would you do if you ever come face to face with a completely enlightened being like Shakyamuni Buddha? So the contemplation is quite simple. You just look at the Buddha. Whether you look at his eyes, face, nose, ears, lips, hands, fingernails, his robe, the tree, doesn't matter. All of this is meditation here. Even you wondering, how does his eyes look like? How does his nose look like? All that wonderment is also meditation here. This is called recollection of Buddha. So, please do that. Thank you very much. Hopefully in the coming days we will explore this a bit more. But yes, if you are interested in Dharma, if you follow Shakyamuni Buddha, I think one of the fundamental thing to do is know this teacher, know about his life, his words, his work, how did he live. That's why in the beginning of this talk, I recited something. I actually recited a lot of things. That is to keep myself aware that I am a follower of these enlightened being, and I owe almost everything to them, and to keep myself humble. Dharma does not work if you do not have humility, if you do not have some sort of gratitude, thankfulness. So, and of course, devotion. And so, since this is a Dharma gathering, please generate proper motivation. As the Buddha have taught that all phenomena follows causes and conditions. And among all causes and conditions, motivation is supreme. So regardless of what we do, even something seemingly pure, spiritual as this, whether this is a path or not, whether this is an accumulation of merit or accumulation of something else, depends entirely upon our motivation. So as a speaker, my sole motivation should be to bring some sort of benefit as much as possible. As the fifth Dalai Lama said in his Lambrim commentary, that the sole motivation of Dharma speakers, it should not be to display their learnings, it should not be to as a pretense or any such worldly ambition, but only for the awakening of the listeners. And as listeners, we should seek transformation. Or else it's just one of the things that you do in your day-to-day lives, like going to a park, going to a cafe, meeting friends, going to a temple, listen to something, and go home and go to sleep. And that's, it's not so bad, actually. Even this much is quite good. But we fail to extract so much if that's the kind of level of mentality we have. Now, of course, a speaker here is a very ordinary person. Because when Buddha would teach, and he taught a lot, people would gain liberation while listening to him. Think about that. While listening to him. And he wouldn't be saying something outrageously, amazing things all the time. Sometimes he's just repeating what he's been saying again and again, even same words, verbatim, just repeating, and the listeners. But Shakyamuni being completely awakened, having no pretense, no such air, completely authentic, I must say. It seemed there was something so transparent about that man that when he spoke, it changed the minds of the listeners completely. That while he hasn't finished speaking, realizations would be born in the minds of the listeners. Now that would be good. We should aim for that, especially if you are a fanatic like me. You should really, really aim for that. If you really seek liberation, you should really pray to meet such a speaker, and you will. I believe you will one day. You will actually meet a completely enlightened being, such as Shakyamuni Buddha. But even though the speakers, like nowadays speakers like myself, we do not have such influence, such a, because, but even as an ordinary being, if listeners and speakers alike, if we could have proper motivation, I see it going far. Your motivation could be, yes, to be a better person. That is also fine. To be kind, tolerable. We are becoming increasingly intolerable these days. So to be tolerable and to bring calm and joy in this world and to our own lives, that's not so bad. But then if you are a follower, someone on the path, which is actually important to ask yourself, am I on the path? Now, if you're on the path, like we want to go to, is there a beach nearby? Maybe not. Okay, let's say we want to go maybe to the city, to Oslo. But we are blindfolded. We cannot feel anything. We cannot smell anything, hear anything. We're just walking. We do not know in which direction. Hopefully towards Oslo. That's not an ideal condition. That's not a sensible walker. You may never reach, or you may reach at some point, but after going round and round this whole earth a couple of times, hypothetically, this could happen actually exactly like this to us who are on the path. We've taken refuge, we've taken bodhicitta initiation and so on. We think we are on the path, but we actually do not really know where am I on the path. It's good to ask ourselves again and again. It's been so long since I've been in the Dharma, but where I am right now. And for that, again, checking our motivations. So, since this is basically Mahayana Sangha, so our motivation should be for the liberation of all sentient beings. I will then practice the path. I will be on the path. I will gain enlightenment. That kind of motivation is needed. Or your motivation could be just for the longevity of Dharma. I speak or I listen merely for the longevity of Dharma, because Buddha Dharma is something so precious. as it deals with the reality of phenomena, of things. And this must remain, this must continue. And so my being here supports that cause. Now that is actually supreme motivation. If you could actually have that. Sorry, I have a habit of talking a lot about motivations. Sometimes it overshadows the actual topic. But you get the gist of it. Teaching of karma, as Lama said, is quite misunderstood. And it is. But some of the misunderstandings are actually quite necessary misunderstandings. Recently, someone sent a song, Taylor Swift song to me. If you don't know who Taylor Swift is, she's a singer. And the name of the song is Karma. And lyrics goes something like, karma is my boyfriend, karma is, what else? Karma is bounty hunter, karma. Because I found out in the US, people somehow believes in karma, sort of. They talk a lot about karma, Buddhists or non-Buddhists alike. But then the idea is somewhat like a, what do you call it? Like a bounty hunter. Not entirely untrue. Very, very misguided. Now the reason why Buddha taught the karma, and Buddha never taught anything that was just for the benefit of discussion. He never did that. Matter of fact, he wouldn't even smile without reason. Sometimes when he smiled, and the monks would immediately ask him, why did the enlightened being smile? And he would give reason why he smiled. So, obviously, this had a profound reason and implications why he taught karma. Because it's natural for us to ask this question. Not just what are these things, outer world, inner world, what are these things? Not only that, but why? Why are things happening the way they do? Why? Or question that people in the West ask a lot. What is the purpose of life? As if there is a purpose of life. But it's a natural question. It's a reasonable question. It's a reasonable question. It's a valid question. So to answer these questions, why do things happen? Why the sky is blue, and why am I born? Why am I happy, unhappy? Why do things grow from the soil, not from just space, So these questions have been asked probably from time beginning, like as soon as there was an intelligent being capable of asking such questions, probably these questions were asked. Now, asking of such question is innocent. The problem is when you find an answer. Most of the time, you do not find good answers. And the answers to these questions have caused a lot of trouble in this world. Some actually believed that things come out of nowhere. We're just born and we die. In India, ancient school of Charvakas believed that. That, they say things like, who painted the feathers of peacocks? Nobody did. Who made the peas, round? No one did. It's just happened naturally, and one day it will vanish naturally. Then there were those who believed that everything is made, all of these things, these marvelous things, come from one source. Like in India, some believe that it is time. Time creates everything. It is one source. So the time is the creator of everything. Some actually believed in a creator, God or a goddess, that they made it. They made all of this. Suppose it's quite comforting to believe that. And I have seen people actually say that, and it's really interesting when they see something marvelous like a beautiful, mind-boggling video of space or deep ocean, under the sea, and you see these amazing creatures and how they live and how they function, and then someone says, all of this is designed by an intelligent creator. They're so sure of it. And I'm sure it must be a source of great comfort to believe that someone is watching us, someone is taking care of us. But fundamentally, it's the answer to this question: why are we here? Why all this is happening? Now, in this kind of society, in ancient India, where everyone believed either things come out of nothingness or things come out of something. Some believed, in some Indian schools like Samkhyas, believed that there is a phenomena called Prakriti, nature, and from there everything comes. So then, amongst all of these speakers and their believers came Shakyamuni Buddha and said, oh, things come out of causes and conditions. Just that. Very simple. And he gives example of external phenomena. Sometimes Buddha, what he actually did was he would pick up a green seedling of rice and he'll look at it and teach dependent origination. So this is the basis of karma. Karma is not I don't think it is meant as some sort of unwritten law that, strikes you when you misbehave and gives you presents when you do something good. Although it may seem like that. All phenomena comes from causes and conditions. And not the same causes and conditions, but different causes and conditions. So what Shakyamuni Buddha actually said is then all phenomena comes from their own unique causes and conditions. The causes and conditions that have caused you, each one of you, can never cause me, can cause someone else, something else. It's your very specific causes and conditions. By saying that, it wasn't his answer to this question, like what is life, why are we here? Again, Buddha was not really interested in answering philosophical, sort of intellectual questions. That was not his way. This was just to show how things are. And he gives example. He gives very earthly example. He says, look at a rice seedling, he says. Well, it's a pen. He says, look at a rice seedling. What do you need for rice to grow? You need the seed, a rice seed. Nothing else will work. It has to be seed of a rice. And then you need earth, water, fire, which is warmth, basically, like the sun, and air. It has to be able to breathe. And someone that plants this. So apart from these cause, now if you can believe that, if you can see that and believe that, yes, for the rice to grow, the seedling to come out of the rice seed, all that is needed is the earth, the water, warmth, wind, which can be understood with like space, and also the seed itself. If you can believe that, now this sounds very innocent, but it's a very dangerous belief, because now you're being honest, you're being sincere, and when you do that, then there is no role for a creator. What would the creator do that the water does not do, warmth does not do, the seed does not do? There's no space for such a being or such an energy. Ways of Buddha has always been like this. He never had to create an exceptional idea or a conceptual phenomena to explain things. He just look at things, point to it, and explain however they are. And that is why we call him Tathagata. Thus gone. Thus gone. How thus? Exactly according to the realities. No fabrication. Right, let's say we laid the ground of understanding karma first. I'm sure Lamala will scold me later. But I can understand, I really understand when someone believes in a higher power, higher being, because our mind, it's quite, sometimes it can be a bit complex. We want things to be simple. We want simple explanation. And then to say everything comes from this, that's simple. Very simple. So then you just have to take care of this. Whereas the actual reality is in itself as simple as it can be. Like we were talking about the rice and how it comes to be. That is the simplest a phenomena can be, and the simplest explanation there can be. Yet, of course, it may sound very chaotic, and then when Shakyamuni Buddha says things like, you are your own master, who can be your master except then yourself? And whatever happens to you, you are responsible for it. It might be very scary. So it is understandable. But whether it is uncomfortable or not, that is our feeling. And how things actually are, that's the reality. So when we talk about karma, we're dealing with reality. We're dealing with truth on some level. Um, Although I said that we want simple explanation, we also like complex phenomena too. It's a very strange complication that we seem to have. I've noticed this in myself too, and I notice this in my friends, let's call them, that you know what we did in the beginning, thinking about Buddha. Actually, in the sutras, it is considered to be one of the highest form of meditation. There is a whole sutra teaching how this is a very swift path. In the Samadhi Raja Sutra, King of Samadhi Sutra, Buddha says contemplation on the form of an enlightened being is the Samadhi of the Bodhisattvas. But it's too simple. It's so simple. Anyway, karma. Again, first to establish the idea of karma, or the teaching of karma. So Buddha basically taught, first he taught cause and effect. Now the external cause and effect is somewhat easy to digest and predictable. Yes. Rice, how do they grow? We can predict the weather. We can predict eclipses. We can predict, looking at an apple tree, that the only fruit it will ever give is going to be apple. You can be clairvoyant in that way. You can look at an apple and say that it came from an apple tree. That tree came from, again, another apple, and it came from another apple, like that. You can go back. So it's kind of predictable. Cause and effect. Now, the internal cause and effect, ourselves, we are it. We are the internal cause and effect. If you believe, nothing can come out of just nothingness. All things must come from their specific causes and conditions. If you really believe that, then when you think about your mind, the experiences of your mind, mind's perception, joy, sadness, all of these emotions, devotion, understanding, ignorance, desire, anger, jealousy, happiness, rejoicement, compassion, kindness, all of these must also have its own causes and conditions. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't they have their own causes and conditions? Now, if you can accept that, then we can move on to the next thing, which is, but is it predictable? Is it predictable? Just like if I see today, apple comes from apple tree. Tomorrow, if I see another apple, I should be able to say, this came from a tree. No one can refute that. It came from a tree. Yes, here or there, doesn't matter, but it came from a tree. If I see by boiling water and putting an egg, within 7-8 minutes it boils, I should be able to say this to everybody wherever I go. Hey, if you boil water, put egg, it boils. That's predictable. But if I like today something, a food, I don't even know Norwegian food. I'm thinking of an example. I have no example for your food, so I'm going to go to the German mashed potatoes. Sometimes I hate it, sometimes I like it. So it's a good example for me. Mashed potatoes. And I like it today. I like it very much. But if you think tomorrow, oh, this man likes mashed potato, let's give him mashed potato tomorrow. He will like it. You never know. Maybe I will not. But if you think about it, external causes and conditions, cause and effect is predictable, but internal is not. Especially the mind, our mind and its experience, it's really not predictable at all. Now, I used a very innocent example of mashed potato. All of our issues in our life is because of this internal cause and effect and its unpredictability, and how we are constantly insecure. We have good reason to be insecure. Mind is so slippery and it changes so quickly. And everything depends on mind. Our whole happiness, whether our life is a successful one or not, it depends on the mind, the experience of mind. So then if you can accept that again, first, that all phenomena comes from their own specific causes and conditions. And between those, there is the external phenomena. Those are very predictable. And then there's the internal world. It's not predictable at all. What did I mean by this? And not only that, external cause and effect, if I have pen here and I have 10 mirrors, all of the mirrors should reflect the pen, nothing else, not a banana, not a shoe, but a pen, this pen. But again, if I have one phenomena and you put it in front of 10 people, the reaction could be very different. Again, unpredictable. Not only that, I want to really go with this right now. Not only that, we like things that is going to harm us. Why do we do that? We really like, now that is irrational. So it's unpredictable and it can be very irrational. Years ago, when we were having a Mind and Life conference in India, thanks to His Holiness Dalai Lama and all these learned scientists would come from all over the world to teach us, teach us monks, For a month they will teach us like how the brain works and so however they could, given they had to teach us, like completely illiterate people like us. But so at the end we have a debate. For 3 days we debate. And there is one question that we are not allowed to ask is, who decides? Like now, in our experience is we experience the self, me. I think of myself as me, one unit. So this question is we're not allowed to ask during debate to our friends, scientists basically, that if the brain is made up of these cells, and the cells, their primary function is just to relay message, right? Who does it relay message to? Who is the one making the decision? Maybe we should also have asked this question. Why do we do that? Why do we do things that harms us, that we know it will harm us, yet we do those things? Now, this is our experience. No one can say that's not true. You know that. We know. Everyone knows that. Although it is very personal. No one can also look at it, so to speak. But we can judge. We can look at our own minds and judge behavior of others, which seems similar. So it is. The internal world is unpredictable and irrational. We know very little about our mind, yet it is the most powerful, influential thing in our life. Yet it is irrational, unpredictable, mysterious somewhat. You cannot show it to anybody. You can tell someone in your arms, like, oh, I love you forever and ever and ever, but they will never really know. They can never really touch it. It's just for you. That's it. This is just you. If you would be seeing a person every day, and only you see this person, people would put you in a house. They will lock you up. They'll think something is wrong with you. So the mind is like this in a way. Only you experience it, no one else. Yet it is the most important thing. It is our identity. It's basically who we are, who we identify with. Hopefully we'll talk a bit more about this 1 or 2 days that we have. So now these questions make sense. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Or why is this not happening to me? When people ask these questions. Yes, why are we here? Why am I here? What am I doing here? What is the meaning of all this all? So, the answer, although it is not meant as it is not meant as an intellectual answer, but the answer is karma. The name Buddha gave to the internal cause and effect is karma. You cannot, and it is quite different from external cause and effect. External cause and effect, you see a seed. You have to put underground, and it works. And it is universal all over the world. If the temperature and everything is fine, it should work. But not this one, internal cause and effect. So you cannot expect them to be also similar. They are visibly, experientially very different things. So what causes them are also very different phenomena. So that's one side, one reason why probably karma is, karma makes sense, probably. Another reason, and again, Shakyamuni's motive is not to please some intellectuals. Matter of fact, sometimes when intellectuals would ask him questions, he wouldn't even look at them. He wouldn't even reply. When he sees that, oh, this is just to tickle their mind, just to, bloat themselves. They're asking this question. He won't even reply. So all of this is merely for the awakening, transformation of mind. So again, another way of looking at it is then all phenomena come from their own causes and conditions. That's one thing. The other thing is all phenomena must create something. That's true. You can look at anything in your life, in your world. Everything creates something. Everything has a result. There's nothing in this world that has no result. So, happiness. Why shouldn't it have result? When you have a good thought. Now, this is easy. The result is this pen come here, this pen go there. The result of my hand movement. Now, this is easy. Mental activities like anger. What is its result? Wanting to harm someone. Even though physically you don't do anything, you don't say a word. So in a sort of external, when external cause and effect is concerned, you haven't done anything. But internally, you have done a lot. It consumes you. You're just burning in your seat wherever you are. So that has no result. Is it just gone? Why should it be so? So when you think in these terms, then karma is very plausible. It's something that yeah. So base karma, lay. The Tibetan translation is lay. Karma. It means action. To do something, doing something. Karma. Now, the myth part that we wanted to talk about, and I must say, when I decided on the topic, I was in a different mindset. I forgot that will have effect, this, The myth part is then basically this very simplest. And forget about amongst sort of those who are not followers of Buddha. Now, of course, they may have all kinds of ideas about karma. Who knows? Even amongst sort of followers of Buddha, even amongst different Buddhist schools, the idea of karma and its function, how does it function? Now, this is a big question. People can accept karma to some extent, but the issue is when it comes to its functionality, how does it function? Now, to explain to a very simplistic minds, very simple minds, unprepared, and sometimes then Buddha just gives the answer. He doesn't really correct them because it's just too early right now. So yes, if you do good things, you go to a good life. And your next life will be good, or in this life you will be happy. That's a very, very sort of simple, overly simplified. And if you do something bad, you will go to a very bad rebirth in your next life. And in this life, unhappiness will follow. But because it works, when he talks like that, when this is taught, because it is also partially true. It's quite true. It's not the entire truth about karma, but it's partially true. And to have such very rigid ideas of karma, like if you talk to some of my elder generations of Tibetans, like my grandparents, their idea of karma sometimes is dangerously close to a theistic idea. It's they believe that when you die, then basically your good karma and bad karma is weighed, so to speak, and then it was. But it works. It keeps them sane. It keeps them nice, compassionate. So it works. Remember, I said, not all misunderstandings are useless. It's a very useful misunderstanding. So this is how it is taught. Then there are those who are obsessed with logic and obsessed with rationality. To them, then the teaching, and these are Buddhist schools, by the way, like the Sravaka schools, they believe, karma is like taking a loan, like taking a loan. When you take a loan, and it's actually, I'm not making it up. This is an Abhidharma Kosha. It's a text, Indian text. So it's taking a loan. When you take a loan, and you have a receipt of your loan, that is the proof that you have taken a loan. Or when you give a loan, you have a receipt in your hand. So that is the proof. And one day, because there is the receipt, it can be claimed. So they believe that when you do something, right now, if I throw this on someone, with anger, of course. Now this action is done, this thrown, harm is done. And then that karma is now, this is like taking a loan, and there is something like an energy or something is left on the mind. That is like the receipt, that's like the seed. And that will remain. Because the question is, I do something today, but then it doesn't give result for 10 years, 20 years. What happened to this karma in the meantime? So that's the question. And it's an intelligent question, actually. It's quite intelligent. Because externally, in external world, according to external cause and effect, it has to be right, it has to be sequential, and it has to happen one after another. You cannot put a rice in the soil and say it will give result after 20 years. No. The seed disintegrate and shoot will come out. Yet, when we talk about karma, it's not like that. So then the question is now, what happens? Where does it remain? Where does it remain? Again, also in the Mahayana, most Mahayana traditions, and also in Vajrayana, again, karma is explained as somewhat similar, and for good reason. These are very important reasons too, important misunderstandings, necessary ones. Like they say, oh, mind, so from this life and then to the next life. What goes from this life to the next life? The body does not go. So then they say the mind goes. The mind stream sort of continues. And upon this mental stream, the karma has left their seed. So like a basket type, with all the seed inside. So images like that. It's a very simplistic idea of karma, actually. But it works tremendously so. And so we do practice. We do pujas, we do meditation. I'm purifying my karma, we say. And it works. Your karma gets purified, you gain awakening. So, when I was thinking about, talking about myths about karma, the myth is not the karma. The myths of karma. It's not the karma itself that is the myth. It is the functionality of it. How does karma function? Where does karma remain? Now there we have a lot of deliberately created misunderstanding. And these are important misunderstandings, of course. But then what happens now? I do something today, it gives result in 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. Ordinarily, if I have a rice seed in my hand and it vanished, I cannot expect to plant this rice seed after 10 years. I cannot expect that. It has to be somewhere. But this one, action, you do something today, and the time is gone, the act is gone. So where is this seed? In the Noble Mahayana Sutra called Transmigration Through Existences. By the way, you can actually get this sutra. It's translated into English. It is made available on 84,000, translating the words of Buddha. In that one, Buddha said, the actions thus conditioned, since the act is a conditioned thing, the actions thus conditioned then cease. Having ceased, an action does not remain anywhere, in the east or in the south, in the west or in the north. It does not remain above, below, or in the intermediate directions. So the actual reality of karma is it doesn't remain anywhere. Apparently. And it is so irrational, and I love it. I love that it's not irrational. Because mind is not rational. The way mind functions is not rational. The function of our mind is karma. And so Buddha said, it doesn't remain anywhere. You do something good today, there is no sort of something going into your mind, something good, and you keep it until it gives result. He says, no. Action is completed. It's an impermanent phenomenon, so it's gone. The result could be after many, many years or tomorrow. In between, the act is nowhere, he says. It's nowhere. In one sutra, I think the name of the sutra is Japula Dambe Do, instructing a king, or instructions to a king, where Buddha says karma. He gives example of a vulture flying high into the sky, and he said karma is like the shadow. When the vulture is on the ground, there is a shadow, he says. As it goes higher and higher and higher, deep in the sky, the shadow is nowhere to be seen because there is no cause. The causes is not complete, so there is no shadow. But as it comes down, the shadow reappears, Shakyamuni said. So karma is very similar to that. When the act is done, until the result, where is it? Nowhere to be seen. But is it non-existent? We also don't want to say that, because it's give result one day. So this very strange existence of it, that's beyond existence and non-existence. That's the truth of karma. This teaching of Buddha is so bold that even many Indian masters conveniently avoids talking about this one, except Chandrakirti. I've read only one Indian teacher who actually teach this. Chandrakirti in his Entering the Middle Path. There he talks about it exactly like this. This way of understanding karma, and we're not talking about emptiness here. Just like the shadow, while this vulture is high, shadow is nowhere to be seen. But as it comes down, shadow reappears. This is not emptiness. This is just the relative truth of the karma. Yet, this way of seeing the karma brings us very, very, very close to the ultimate reality. This is actually how Buddha meant his followers to, at some point, see the karma, that it doesn't really remain somewhere. It's not like our mind is not like a box or a vault that at each time you're opening and putting something. Yes. So, but of course, now that you have heard this, please don't go around debating with people who believe that, I have done something bad. There's something dark comes to their mind. That's how they believe it. Don't go around arguing with them, because that kind of misunderstanding is actually quite useful for now, for many of us. Because remember, we love simple explanation. We love simple explanation. This is simple. This is very, very simple, to actually believe that something is on your mind, something that can be removed, that can be purified. I don't know, I talked a lot. Do you have any questions or arguments? Or please come forth.
If someone is severely ill and sick, and they feel, oh, I have done something horrible, this is my karma. How do we speak to such a person?
Well, it's not entirely false. Just the realization of it is not our issue. The issue becomes when they then beat themselves up with this realization. This is very difficult, this kind of situation, when you try to help someone else, especially when they are physically suffering, the actual, and mentally they are burdened with their own guilt or, this. I think that may be the problem. Because if someone really believes that I have caused this, then actually they're believing that they're quite strong, quite capable, that they managed to bring this existence, But the guilt part is where I suffer a lot. I don't get that. I'm really serious. 7 years ago, when I first came to Germany, and before that too, but mostly when I come to Germany for the first time, and some people say, I don't like myself. I really don't. And I try it. I think it's something very cultural and also something that is in your blood, maybe, passed on from generation to generation. This sort of self-loathing some people seem to have. It's really difficult for me to understand. And so sometimes it's very difficult to talk to people when they are very sick or when they're suffering. Ordinarily, actually, strange thing is, when you can really accept that this is my own karma, it's supposed to relieve you a little bit. When you can really accept that. But, I don't know. I think it really depends on situation. Now, if this person is very devotional person, like someone who's very devout Buddhist, then there is a lot of things you can talk about, But if this person is really sort of sunken deep in self-criticism, then it's so difficult. I really don't have a good answer to that. Very individual, I think. No one has problem about karma not being anywhere. All right. I was shocked when I first heard that. I thought, what is this nonsense?
Rinpoche, what about the explanation of the storehouse consciousness?
Yes. You mean alaya, right? That's a big topic you just raised now.
Can you explain the question as well?
Yes, no problem. That is true. So in some sutras, people get more intelligent. Now, I died today. I hope not, but maybe. Who knows? Maybe I do such bad work tonight, Lama Lai. This guy does not have to. I'm just joking. So, let's say I die today. I'm a 37-year-old human being, and I have all these feelings and beliefs and ideas. All of that will die. Now, in a very simple, in a very simplistic way, you can say, I die tonight, and then my mind will sort of come out of my body that looks like me, and will go and reborn, go into the womb of, let's say, a lizard mother. Gone. So I come out in the egg and I'm a lizard. Next life. I hope not, but who knows? So, simple way of talking is this, that my mind will go. But now more intelligent people will say, that doesn't make sense. Okay, your body does not go, it's here visibly. But how can also your mind go? Because all of your feelings and beliefs and doubts, and the lizard will not have. It has a lizard mind. You have a human mind. It's very, very different. We can understand these sounds that coming out of, made by our body. And we have assigned complex meanings to these sounds. Whereas these beings, now I'm assuming lizards have no language. These beings have no such notions. So not only body, even the mind seems different. So what are you talking about? Now the bit more intelligent person will ask this question, and it is a valid question. And so we kick out all those people who believe that when I die, the mind will go out, say, okay, you guys go out a little bit. We need to talk to this person. And to this person you say, oh, mind, you're right. Body does not go. Mind also does not go to the next life. But then this person will say, so then this life and next life, what is the connection? And I do something good in this life, and I'm going to have a good rebirth, This is what the Buddha says. This is what teaching is basically. That's how the path works. You practice now and you become enlightened. How does all this work? So then the explanation is, there is alaya. This alaya is again a name of a very, very subtle mind. Now, the idea is that this mind this is, it's called the storehouse because it is, remember as before when I was talking about, so it is believed that all the karma is stored upon this very subtle mind. And this subtle mind is the one that has been there forever. Changing, of course, is not a permanent phenomenon, but it has always been sort of there. So, and it is the one that goes to the next life carrying all the karma. So the idea is that this also be in this sort of very direct way of looking at karma, we don't believe. In any way, alaya vidyana, this storehouse consciousness, this idea of a storehouse, already in the Madhyamika way, when we study Madhyamika, it's already disputed, using many different sort of arguments and reasonings. But it's a very interesting phenomenon. And alaya, especially if you are someone who wants to or who thinks about Buddha nature, you have to understand alaya. Someone who then wants to practice Vajrayana, you really have to understand alaya. So I just say that, but no. There is no such storehouse. It is taught in the sutras for people who wants a storehouse, who doesn't like not having a storehouse. Yeah. That was such a long answer. My apologies.
Okay. So
A good start to a question.
yeah. What about karmic imprints? That is also this one kind of impression, expressions, karmic imprints.
Yes. Same thing. Karmic seed, karmic imprints. Some say karmic seed, as if seed, some sort of something is there. Some say karmic imprints. It's a little bit sophisticated way of talking. But what is it exactly? What is an imprint, actually? Imprint. When I have a dough and I do this, there's an imprint of this in the dough, right? So in the mud, let's say, in a clay, I do this, the imprint is there. So then in future, very similar thing like this can be made out of it. I think the idea is that, something similar to that if you do something good, if this is a good thing, imprint left on the mind. And in the future, good things will come out of it, will be molded out of it. I think that's the whole, I actually thought about this because I believe this. I still believe it. But it's the same. Mind. Leaving imprint on mind. What does that even mean? Yeah. I don't know. Anyone else? Please.
Yeah. Thank you for the teachings, Rinpoche. I'm not sure if I do understand the karma, but there is a lot of knowledgeable people here. But from what you're saying, it could be viewed as karma not really existing, but you are only your mind saying that if I do good things, I will have the imprint, to use that word, of that good things will benefit me. And if I do good things to other people, I will receive good back, and I will learn that over time and time and time and time again. And my memories of bad things will diminish after a while, but they will kind of haunt me because I want to be a good person. So after a while, I need to get past that point as well. And then I will, have a good karma almost all the time because I won't be affected by other outer conditions anymore, only my internal conditions. Is that kind of a right way to look at karma, as a tool to achieve enlightenment?
Karma? Yes, of course. Karma is cause and effect of mind. Enlightenment is a result of mind, right? So, in that regard, surely. The doubt is that of bit intellectual, this kind of doubt. Where does karma remain, right? It's not really for practicing purpose, but a question that has to be answered. Maybe not everyone has to know this, but some people should know this. That, well, actually, Buddha has taught this also. Because Buddha have also taught all the others too. The alaya vijnana, where all the karma is stored. He also taught that. But then he also taught this, that actually, it doesn't need to remain anywhere, like a flight, shadow of a vulture deep into the sky. So then in this regard, then the existence of karma, after it is accumulated until the result given, Chandrakirti says, it's neither existent nor non-existent. And it's not to sound smart, to be like, debate. It's not a debate language. It's just simple observation. If it is non-existent, it can have no result. But it's not like that. And if it is existent, it has to be somewhere. That's also you cannot point out. I was in a strange mindset when we made the topic, actually. My apologies. That was not good.
Okay, I'm trying to understand. So the idea I now got in my head while you were explaining is that the imprint, and the man who had this other question, that the imprint of the actions, maybe it's more like, in my head now, it's more like foam mattress. So that it goes like in, and I can mold from it, but I have to keep molding to the shape to stay. Because if I don't mold it, it would just go out again. So the bad things I've been doing, or the negative actions for myself or for others, if I keep doing them, I keep maintaining the shape. So if I try not to do that much of that and just focus on the other things, this will just go back to its original state on itself, sort of. And if I keep focusing it, I also keep on making the shape stay the same way. Is that something I can use to something?
That's actually that's actually a very new way. I like that. Well, it's the result that really matters. The result is awakening. Now, this awakens you by all means. But the imprint idea, the seed idea, these all make sense though, because when you do something good, like when I help someone, I get help in future. That's a very simplistic idea, but actually it does happen. So it looks like prints out of mold, so to speak. So this is a good mold, good print, bad mold, bad print. So then it's made very simple like this. And of course, that's where the similarity ends. Now, if you keep going further with the example of the form, then you have to, just as a form, I have to keep pressing every day or it go back. That's maybe not so. That's where the analogy sort of ends. That just is like an imprint. And it doesn't have to be a form, maybe more like a clay that stays. But this is just example, right? The main thing is that that it functions, that it functions like this. Because at the end of the day, all we have is functionality. If you ask me, why is this table here? I will point to it. I will do this. I say, look, I can put water on this. You can see it, you know. You can lick it if you want. You can smell it. All of those are the functionality of it. So if it functions, I believe it exists. You know, so when the reality could be that, okay, just that. If it functions, I believe it exists. So sort of the reasoning is simple, similar to that of karma, you know. You experience good things, bad things, or neutral things. And so that's the functionality of cause and effect of our mind. So then this attempt to understand why does mind function so differently from external phenomena, then it's all because of karma, you know, which is mental experience, so this, or explanation of mental experience.
You know, after listening to you, I'm left with this feeling, you know, when a wise Indian person was asked, who is God or what is God? The answer was neti, neti, not this, not that, you know. So I'm left a little bit like, what is karma now? And also when you gave that example of the vulture in the sky, when you gave it, I thought, yeah, of course, it's so clear. But then afterwards I was, but what is it actually an analogy of? So, I mean, it was a beautiful analogy, but if you can go a little further with that, you know, like what does the shadow represent when you talk? What does a vulture represent? What does the light represent? Or what is, you know, how do we kind of make sense of that within this very complex idea of what karma is?
That example, analogy was given by Buddha to a king when he's explaining the karma. I don't think he went into the details of what the light and all this represents, just the shadow. So he wanted to talk about the shadow. He wanted to talk about a phenomena that is sort of that disappears and then appears. And just because it disappears does not mean it doesn't exist. Just that. So, yes, high up, no shadow is cast, so to speak, right? Because there's nothing, sort of nothing beneath. Just that, I think. Yeah. Maybe you can find that sutra. And there could be more details. I only remember this part of it because it was quite interesting, you know. Thank you. So nice. You have so many questions. You should ask questions. Really. Dharma will not survive if you don't ask any questions. Now, if you understood everything, then is no need questions, of course. But we are learning, so please.
Hi, Rinpoche. I'm not sure I have a question in here, but a lot of confusion. So you mentioned functionality a few times, and you also mentioned Mind and Life, the conference. And what I observe is that when I'm listening or contemplating this topic of karma, I have a lot of discomfort. My mind is sort of really struggling to define it. You know, what are the functions? What are the characteristics? What is the purpose? What is the primary function of karma? And I often end up with this sort of strong discomfort and struggle that I have with also finding the I. That there's like this feeling of it's not palpable, it's not solid. I sort of have a sense of knowing it's there and I can observe how it unfolds. And this frustration sort of grows. And it kind of grows to the point where I sort of have like this really immature aversion towards karma. And then I'm thinking like, okay, so now it's actually conditioning my motivation, because on one side, I can observe the practical aspects and how it can actually empower me to make better choices in terms of body, speech, and mind, actions of body, speech, and mind. And on the other side, there's this rebellion saying, yeah, sure, that's great, but at the same time, it's sort of polluting your motivation in how you're trying to plant seeds for the future, because I feel like an accountant. You know, we mentioned Alaya and we mentioned this vault, and I'm like, oh, so merit sounds pretty cool. I mean, nothing is here without merit and causes and conditions. So I just end up sort of like a very immature teenager, struggling to kind of find my way and make this into a more healthy, pragmatic contemplation. Could you maybe, I'm not sure if there's a question in this, but can you somehow help me make it a little bit more mature in terms of contemplation, please? Thank you.
Maybe it will help to think that, the explanations of karma is wrong in the end. No matter what you do, we talk about selflessness, emptiness. That's the ultimate truth. And so it doesn't matter how you explain the other things, Or if you believe, if you think that, yes, karma leaves its imprint, seed upon my mind, and I have to purify that, and I visualize this white deity on top of my head, water, sort of white liquid comes and washes me. Nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Yeah, just that. And experience and reality is not always the same. Remember when I was talking about myself dying, and I was joking that, I die right now, and then my mind comes out of the body, and it looks like me, like in the movies that happens. In the Indian movies, the older Indian movies, you're dead, and then someone gets up from the body and walks away, flies, float, or whatever. I ridiculed it. But when I die, I think that's how exactly I will experience, because of my habit and the level of my confusion. I will experience it like that I'm going here and there, listening to people talk, and to have this like some sort of similar body. So experience and reality is very different. So then here about karma. What here we're talking about, when the quote of the Buddha, that karma, after accumulated, it doesn't really stay anywhere. This one, if you're uncomfortable with that, it's okay. Then you can believe that, it stays on the mind. This does not hinder your liberation at all. And Buddha actually taught that also. think about storehouse. I like that. No problem. There's the, yeah. Yes.
So, is karma something that human mind can understand?
Human mind. If Shakyamuni Buddha was a human, maybe so, human mind. But someone like me surely cannot, and I do not. So maybe that's the distinction, that an ordinary mind or deluded mind does not understand karma.
So that's why we need all these different explanations level then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a friend who is schizophrenic, completely schizophrenic, you need this person to take medicine. That's important. But your friend does not listen to you at all. But you know that your friend, in her confusion, has other friends who only she can see. And then you tell your friend, and some of these friends, let's say, luckily for you, also tell her that she should take care of herself. So now you tell your friend, hey, listen to your friend. This friend who doesn't exist actually, but you can say that. You can say that, hey, listen to your friend. You don't want to listen to me, fine, but listen to her. Take this medicine. And if she takes the medicine, that's all you care about actually. That she takes the medicine. So sometimes I feel like that. There's so many explanations. All Buddha really care about is our awakening. Yeah.
So there are some, like you mentioned, some Buddhist practices where you purify the karma, or you say that you purify karma. Can you explain the why we do that and what we're really doing then?
Purifying karma, because it helps, because it purifies karma. Just because that karma doesn't stay anywhere doesn't mean that it cannot be purified, I think. So, and also now when we talk about purification, especially if you're mentioning like Vajrayana things, now that's a different dimension. Very different dimension. Yet, yes, your friend is taking the medicine. So what does it matter?
This is a question following on from the idea of purifying the karma. It's a concept I struggle with a little bit, because on one side it sounds a little close to the Catholic Church sale of indulgences kind of, if you've done something, if you are something, there is the taking of medicine, but how do you, through ritual or other ways, purify that? Or what is the thinking behind it?
Now, purification, I think the meaning of purification, even though we use same word, purification, I think meaning may be very different. Some people may think purification is like a stain and you're washing the stain. Very simplistic idea like that. But purification actually may mean that your doing this will block the past karma to give result. And that's purification. We don't know. It could actually mean just that it not necessarily is like washing a clothes sort of idea that we have. And we even have like spiritual tradition where you take bath in a, like, and then you're purified. So purification, it also kind of makes sense if you think about this kind of purification, because it's a mental phenomenon, like karma, it's a mental phenomenon. It's something that is done through mind, motivation. And if anything can stop it, has to be a mental phenomenon, sort of logical. But again, to really show and pinpoint, that's not possible for ordinary people like myself. So I have to use a lot of ideas and reasoning, and I have to quote here and there, But real experience and explanations and reality, these three don't always go together. Recently, I was talking about Bardo, right? You know Bardo, right? So the idea is that, very simplistic idea is I die again. Wow, I'm dying a lot tonight. So I die again. What was it? I'm going to be a lizard, right? Between that state from I die here and then I'm sort of going to lizard mother's egg, that. This state is called Bardo. And in the text, we are taught a lot. And then you will see red light, blue light, green light, don't go here, don't go here, go there, all that. It's like a factory manual, user manual type, But experience could be this is just stories now. I'm going to tell stories. Recently, sort of 20, 30 years ago, apparently there was an old Chinese man, and his left hand, he always wrapped it in cloth, and he would show it to no one, and he was single for his whole life. For that reason, he didn't want to show it to anybody. Only his parents and his family knew what it looked like. So around the end of his life, when he was very old, he invited a monk to a restaurant just to offer him tea. And it was like his confession to this monk. And he unwrapped his hand, and it looked like a pig's limp, like hoof, yes, like that. It looked like that, a little bit. Not like a human hand. So he sort of confided in the monk, saying that, I actually remember my past life, he said. So in my past life, I was a butcher, Buddhist, but a butcher. And I killed a lot of pigs. At the end of my life, my children were very worried about me. Also, our father is a butcher, so he's going to hell or whatever, something like that. So they ran and called a monk. And this monk said, oh, you should take refuge, So, yeah, you should take refuge. And the monk said, repeat after me, Put your hands together, repeat, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. And while he was repeating, he died. He died. Then he found himself naked in a place, no sun, no moon, no light. It was cold and raining, hailstorm, windy, and he was alone, bewildered. He could not understand what had happened. And far away he saw a light, and he saw it was a wooden, like a cabin, and the light was shining from the windows. And of course, he thinks, I'm going, obviously, anyone would do that. So he went there. He went inside. Finally, no rain, no wind. He closed the door. And on the walls, there were some jackets. And he picked one jacket. And he wore that jacket. And it was so warm, he fell asleep. And he woke up. He was born as a pig. Now, that was his bardo. And that jacket was him entering the womb of his mother, this pig. So how are we supposed to know this? You know? He didn't see any pig. He just saw, he was cold, there is a jacket, he wore the jacket. That's his experience. But the reality was, the mind was entering. That's how the mind entered the pig's womb. Luckily for him, he said, he immediately remembered that this is what's happening. And rather, he didn't eat, drink anything, and he kept crying for days. And so he died. And then he was reborn as a human with a pig hand. So, interesting, this story. And let's say it's true. And if it is true, if there is possibility that it is true, then whatever that's explained in the scriptures, about Bardo, you will see this and that, he didn't experience those things. Maybe it happened, maybe it was so fast that he didn't notice what was happening. And what he experienced was just, he was cold, wet, he just wanted a jacket. So just wanted to say that experience, reality, and teachings may not always go together. Right. You're so fortunate to have such a beautiful temple. And you have a Lama here who is teaching you, guiding you regularly. Many places don't have that. Some places just have temple and no teacher. And they try, they invite, wandering, lost people like me once in a year, but it doesn't really work. You really need to have a Dhamma practitioner, Dharma teacher who is available, who is there. So that's so good that you have Lamala here. And I was very happy to know about this center. Since yesterday, I've been learning that this is probably the oldest, right? The oldest Buddhist association in Europe, like Tibetan Buddhist Association. And center is so old, established so early on. And so please continue supporting it. However, if maybe you volunteer, even one day of cleaning the temple would be quite amazing. Although it's not necessarily exactly like that, but the reality. But if you believe that this dust are my negative karma and I'm sweeping them I'm sucking them with the vacuum cleaner. It is working. Medicine is taken. So what is it? So I'm really serious. And actually, of course, actually working for the center, that would be so amazing. And yes, you have like keeping a center is so difficult. I'm realizing this. We have a small center, and it's so. There's always something to do. There's always something needed. So please, however you can help, that would be really appreciated. Good karma, huh? Right. Lesser.
Usunamdi namje zebani dobne nyembe danam bomje nenje gana zemba namdumba sebe zolen dowan dolwana jo jambalam pamen chidara jemba na gundo zambo deyan deji deda gunge jeso dalob jenge wan deda namje rabdongo ge wan de yenje wo ge sunam yije zozo Sunam yeshe le jongwa namba kunye dobra shong sanje kusum nye be chen lab na junye me jura den be chen lab gindu me jun dun be chen lab genji dara ngwa men lam du mara shong